I happened to stumble on VDM last year, so like this year, 2025. It just looked like a lot of fun, a fun concept. I'm very much a team player. I've played volleyball, cheerleading, rowing, so any team comp, I'm down. So when I saw the competition, it just like drew me in because of that team spirit.
Nice. What about the VDM format or community made you want to come on board as a programmer?
What drew me to program for VDM was the fact that it seemed very accessible. A lot of times when people do local comms, you get like super complex movements or super heavy weight. The VDM programming, when I was looking back at it, it looked very accessible, whether you were scale or RX, and just the right touch and the right kind of challenge to make people want to work out, tag their partner and just push themselves.
You've coached and programmed for athletes at every level. What excites you most about bringing the experience into a global team competition like VDM?
What drew me into the fact that this is a global competition, I've been hosting the Open for many years at the gym. We've started programming competitions for the gym. Competition is a very magical and can be a very magical time. People surpass their expectations, whether through a PR or seeing their friends' PR. And that is what drew me in and excited me about programming for VDM, was knowing that I was participating in helping other people surpass their expectations.
Nice. Good job, Carol. The vision and design behind the workout, point number 2. Can you share a little about your vision for this year's workout? What did you want athletes to feel when they took them on?
When I was programming the workouts for this year, I definitely wanted to make sure that people felt proud when they were stepping onto the floor, knowing the work that they had put into it, and definitely feel proud stepping off the floor. Again, like making sure that you're working well with your partner, that you're cheering each other on, that you're there for each other, and that the workout was just the right amount of challenge for either one of you or both of you as a team.
How did you approach balancing teamwork, grit, and strategy across for very different events?
So when I was programming for VDM, I definitely wanted to make sure that I highlighted all the different aspects of team workouts. So as you'll notice, there's obviously a synchro workout. There's the you go, I go. There's a divide as you wish. And then for the heavy hitters, it's not just a strength event. You kind of have to see what you and your partner's strengths and weaknesses potentially are to see who's going to be doing heavy grace and who's going to be doing the complex. So I definitely wanted some strategy even before you got on the floor, deciding, who was going to be doing what. And I think that kind of highlights all the aspects and the challenges of team workouts.
What role did progression play? How did you build on what athletes have seen in past seasons while still keeping it fresh and challenging?
I definitely looked through the archives. So I looked at the past VDM workouts, definitely saw some themes in terms of the weights, the movements. So there's movements that you'll see are coming back. Didn't want to stray too far from what had been seen in the past. Again, we want to do CrossFit. We know what CrossFit is. It's what's happening in the gym. So ideally, everything that you're seeing feels very familiar, and just hitting it as hard as you can.
Was there particular moments of or inspiration that shaped one of the workouts?
One of the inspirations that I had, obviously, so one of the workouts that we wanted to keep from Ashley was MCM. We wanted to keep it as is. So I wanted to build around that because obviously in MCM, there's already deadlift, there's already rowing. So that kind of self-eliminates some of the other movements that we could do. And then again, like I said, like a lot of times in local competitions, you'll see things that are super, super heavy. Definitely wanted to give the right challenge and the right opportunity, but I wanted the heavy workout to highlight some of the teamwork that you guys are going to have to do to divide and conquer.
The standards and heavy grace. VDM is known for pushing athletes with fair but demanding standards. How did you approach setting those this year?
So I know from looking at all the workouts and just reputation, like VDM is a fair competition. The weights are accessible. It's fun. So when I was deciding on the weights, and obviously consulted with Ashley, but when we were deciding on heavy grace, we went back and forth for the weights for the RX and the scaled, and we tried to approach those divisions separately. So that's why there's not a lot of difference in the weight. So we looked at the RX division, and we went with 155, 105, because we thought it was like a fair stimulus, just above what you would do for regular grace, without trying to crush people with a 225, 155, or even a 185, 125. We thought it would stop more people in their tracks. So we looked at the RX, kind of looked at what had been done in the past, and went with that. When we went for the scale division, we could have brought down the weight to a 115.75 or 80, depending on who you're talking to. But to me, that wasn't the right challenge for a heavy grace. And I think that even in the scale division, sometimes we underestimate what athletes can do, or the progression, because you guys are going to be getting these workouts in advance, and having the confidence that you're going to put in the training to hit that stimulus. Now, will all of you finish, whether you're doing it RX or scale? I don't know, and that's not really the goal. The goal was to give you something just a little bit above what you feel comfortable. And maybe some of you, for registration kind of hesitated when you saw those weights, but I hope, and I'm confident that you guys will exceed your expectations. Like maybe you're hesitating right now, but once you step on the floor, and it's happened before, you step on the floor and things just feel a little bit lighter, you can hit it a little bit harder. So I think you guys in the scale division are going to enjoy doing it at 135.95 and hopefully PR your grace.
Let's talk about heavy grace. Why that standard and structure? What did you want athletes to prove in that piece?
Je pense que je l'ai pas mal dit. Ouais.
What are you hoping judge and athletes take away from the consistency in movement standard across division?
I hope that the athletes, the judges, like everybody in the community, when you're coming together, whether you're doing a competition or watching, that the movement standards are clear enough. We didn't try to throw any curveball, that it's easy enough to judge. Sometimes hard to maintain the standard, but like athletes are doing their best to maintain the standards and judges are doing their best to maintain it so that it's a fair competition to everyone. So again, the movements, we tried to keep everything nice and square, so it's easy for everybody to enjoy.
Athlete preparation and training program. Ouais. You're also building a prep program for athletes. What can they expect from you?
So we are building a program for athletes, especially around heavy grace, because that was something that I really wanted to provide as an experience. Benchmark, original girls, you've done them before with a twist and VDM. So I really wanted to keep that one. And I really want people to feel confident when they're going to be stepping onto the floor. And hopefully exceed their expectations. So we're going to be building a good program so that you have a good strategy, you kind of know what to expect, but at the same time, you'll have just a little bit of room to ideally surpass yourself and, like I said, PR. So we'll definitely be preparing you on how to attack heavy grace, no matter where you're going, no matter the strategy, whether you're doing like cluster sets or singles or like all of that, you'll be ready to know how to attack that workout come V-Day.
How is the program designed to help athletes progress toward these specific workout and standards?
So the programming, like obviously you have your expert coaches at your box. I obviously have my style of programming and I hope that you enjoy it and I share it. The coaches, you can kind of feed off of it. I don't think I'm reinventing the wheel here, but you'll definitely see a couple of themes throughout to help you achieve that heavy grace.
For athletes who may be intimidated by weight like the nice things, clean and jerk and scale, how does your prep program bridge that gap?
So I've noticed even at my gym, the guys will take a little bit more risk when they're loading the bars and the women will not. And so I hope that the program gives you the confidence to add a little bit of weight, try a little bit heavier, fail if you must. Like that's how you're going to learn. It's not going to be the prettiest the first time, and you've all seen people lift, and that's fine. Like that's part of the learning process. That's part of you trying to reach another level. So I definitely want to give you those opportunities in training to just see where you're at right now and challenge yourself with those weights. And you don't have to do big jumps. I'm not telling you to add 20 pounds in the first week of your training. That is not the goal. There is a progression, but bit by bit, try to push yourself, and you'll have the opportunities to do that during the training program.
What advice would you give to teams starting their training for VDM 2026?
So my biggest advice, especially when you're doing team competitions, like I said, they're my favorite, but talk to your teammate about expectations. Are you doing this for fun? Are you doing this to maximize the workout and try and get the best time? Because that will give you different strategies. Like if you want to divide and everybody does half, then everybody does half. That might not be the fastest way to do the workout based on your strengths and weaknesses. So really have an honest conversation with your teammate about what you want to get out of VDM, what they want to get out, and then ideally you guys have the same goal, but if you don't, at least you have that expectation and you can compromise and you can start planning. And there's a lot more than just like fitness. Like I said, there's strategy going into this workout, so you'll be spending a lot of time figuring out how to best attack each workout based on each other's strengths and weaknesses.
Cool. Describe VDM 2026 in one word.
VDM in 2026 is going to be exciting.
What one thing you want every athlete to remember when they step onto the floor this season?
One thing I would like everybody to remember this year when you step onto the floor is that ideally you're doing this for fun and you're doing it together. You know, you've probably seen teams fall apart or teammates yelling at each other or whatever. Like I said, ideally you're having those conversations before so that the expectations are set, the game plan is set, and you walk onto the floor and you can execute. But remember that you're doing this for fun. You're doing this so that your future self can be healthy, and this is a way of keeping training interesting, keeping you motivated to train. That's hopefully why you're joining VDM, to live an experience. I like competing. I like that day, the format, the experience, the energy that you get out of it. So remember that this is supposed to be fun. And in any case, in 10 years, you most likely won't remember where you ended up on the leaderboard. So don't sweat too much about it. Enjoy the day, enjoy your partner, enjoy the community, enjoy the people, enjoy the vibe, have some fun.
C'est un peu cohérent, de genre répéter les questions, c'est parfait.
Oui, fait, mais ça, je sais.